A lot of the fruits and vegetables that you eat are actually 9, 10 months, even a year old. Shay with the Owyhee, welcome to the channel. What I want to show you is how we store onions for 9, 10, even 11 months of the year. The technology is pretty cool, and the thought process behind why we do it is also pretty cool. We can only harvest here during certain time of the year. September, October is when we harvest onions, but we ship onions here because we store them from September through May. Remember, if you like what you're seeing, to like and subscribe so you can keep watching and keep learning.
Everywhere you go, light follows. Light follows.
Okay, so now we're standing in front of one of the storage bays. This building holds 7 million pounds of onions. The onions are in there on the air floor, and what I'm gonna do is take you in reverse order. We're gonna look at the refrigeration. We're gonna look at the cooling coils. We're gonna look at the air tunnels and the fans that blow all that air in so you can see what we're doing, because the way that we store these onions isn't through some chemical process. It has everything to do with the volume of air that we move and the temperature that we keep the onions at. And by doing those two things, they'll last for a really long time. The onions in this building right now were put in there in September, and they'll be in there until May. So they last for a really long time, and the quality stays really good. So as we come in here, everything is computer controlled. So we've got this really cool control panel that I can actually run from my phone or from here. But it tells me what's going on. It tells me there's different probes in the pile, so we know at different heights and different distances from the cooling source what the temperature is. We can control the humidity, or help control the humidity. We can pull the moisture out of the air with the coils on the other side. We can run the fans. There's a fan bank right here that's got VFD drives, variable frequency drives, so that we can control the speed of the fans and use as little energy as possible. There's times when we need maximum volume, and we can crank those up to 60 hertz and just blast the air into the onion pile. And so that computer control panel helps us control that. Like I said, again, we can run it from our phone if we want to. So as you can see, we're standing in front of the control panel, and I can also see the comparable pieces of the information on my phone. So if I wanted to turn the fans on, for example, or to hit the soft stop button, I can just hit reset. If I hit reset from here, it's going to go ahead and send the signal to this to do a reset, and it's doing it via the internet. You know, it's not like I've got a Wi-Fi connection or I'm connecting with Bluetooth or something. It just received the signal, so it's starting back up. I'm going to soft stop it again so that it doesn't keep running. And you can see the fans firing up, the coils turning on. We're going to turn that off. But the reason that this is beneficial is it just allows us to kind of monitor the piles and the onions a little bit better. If something goes wrong, we also get an alarm and we can take a look at it. And how often do things go wrong? Not that often. But when something does and there's 7 million pounds in there, you want to know, so you can kind of get in there quickly and solve the problem. Okay, so we're inside the building. These doors are the same doors we were looking at on the outside. When we want to bring outside air in, lots of volume of air, these doors open. They're called T doors. They'll open and let the fresh air come in from the outside. But in the event that we don't have fresh air that's cold enough and we need to keep the temperatures down, these are the refrigeration coils. So the refrigerant runs through these coils. It's like the opposite of the radiator in your car, or like a heat pump that you have at your house. The coolant's running through here, the air passes through and gets cooled. The cool thing about this is, as it runs through, if there's humidity in the air, we can super cool one of these coils and actually freeze the moisture as it goes through, and therefore bring the humidity level down. Onions don't like to be wet. If they're wet, they mold and they go bad. So you've got to keep the humidity low so that as the air goes into the onions, it continues to keep that paper dry and crispy and good so that these onions will last for months and months. So we've activated the door so you can see that process of what we're doing when we're pulling outside air. You can see the blue skies up there, and that blue skies mean outside. If it's cold at night, we're going to bring the air in. If it's not cold, then we have to use the refrigeration to cool the air down, and that's why we've got the coils here. Let me show you the other side. So on this side we can see the coils. Again, we can super freeze the air as it comes through and actually turn this like nice and frosty white. These trays are here to collect the water when we do that. So we'll super freeze it, collect the water, and then flash heat it. And then when you heat it up, it'll melt and turn everything into water. It comes into the trays. And that, by doing that process, we're actually pulling some of the moisture out of the air. Obviously, it's not a perfect process because there can be a lot of moisture in the air, but it does work. It's like pulling something really, really cold out of the freezer and sitting on the counter. You can see all the condensation that gathers around it. It's kind of the same process. We're trying to gather the condensation and get it out of the air. And then if we flip around 180 degrees onto this side, these are the intake fans. These fans are 12 to 15 horsepower each. On the VFDs, those are the things I was showing you in the other room, the variable frequency drives. We can control the speed of the fan. So we're gonna pull the air through from outside or recirculate it through the building and down into the tunnels. The tunnels are what actually take the air directly to the onions. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the intake fans that draw all of that air into this building. And it comes to this tunnel. This tunnel is like the register that you have, or the heating conduit in your house. This is just a giant conduit for air. And we're running it down to the onions that are immediately on the other side of this wall. If we come over here, I can open this door. And this is the tunnel that the air is now going to go into. Right here is where the onions are sitting, on top of a cement floor. And the air will go in through a small opening that's staggered throughout the building and throughout this tunnel and go up and through the pile of onions. Again, the airflow is critical. So now we're going to leave the air tunnel and we're going to go into the storage building and take a look at the onions.
Light follows.
So this is what an onion storage looks like. The floor that I was just talking about, that conduit, is right here. These are the cups. The air tunnel gets pressurized. The small conduits where I lifted the little plastic door, that comes in, and then the air is going to come up and through this cup. There's enough pressure that it will actually push the air. If we were to climb at the top of that pile and put our face down there, or a little feather, it would actually blow that feather up into the air. That's how much pressure we can get through the pile and how much air it's necessary to keep going through that pile to maintain the quality.
Everywhere you go.
Okay, so this building will hold, like I said before, 7 million pounds. We have 6 of these bays, 7 million pounds each. What does that really represent, 7 million pounds of onions? Well, 7 million pounds of onions is enough to feed the annual consumption, what the average American eats in an entire year, about 333,000 people per building. This building will hold these onions for up to 9 months, even 10 months in some cases. And it takes about 80 to 90 acres to fill one of these buildings. So this is 90 acres represented in this amount of onions in this storage here. So between all the buildings, we got 42 million pounds of storage. We will use these onions it takes us 3 to 4 weeks to empty each building to get that packed and on the market and to you at the grocery store. So it's not anything new, but the technology is getting better and better, and the quality, therefore, is better and better. I hope you like what you saw here. If you did, please like and subscribe so you can see more, and I'll see you on the next one.